This episode of Monday Night Raw is October 16th, 1995. This Raw opens with words from Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler to hype up the cage match between Bret and Isaac Yankem. I'm hyped up, alright. Hyped for this to finally end. Our first match of the show is Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Doink the Clown. I'm surprised Doink is still here. I thought he would have been gone after his last match where he took on Waylon Mercy. They've been at this venue for the past 3 weeks. At least I think so, because the same women who I mentioned in the Helmsley versus Horowitz match a couple weeks ago, they're still sitting in the same spot. This crowd really got their money's worth sitting through like 4 or 5 shows, whatever it was. Most of this match was really slow. Doink tried to get it going, but Helmsley was in control for most of it. And the end came when Doink missed a crossbody and got hit with the pedigree. So now he moves to 6-0 on Raw since making his debut. He's still got 2 months though. If he loses one match, he's out of the running for winning the Dominance Award, that being Helmsley. And since he's 3 wins ahead of the next guy in contention, he's surely going to get the award named after him. But he just has to stay undefeated for the next 8 weeks or so. He's a heel, so they might give him a stupid loss between now and then. And don't call me Shirley. Next, we get a backstage segment with Barry Horowitz talking to Hakushi about baseball to teach him about the American culture. Not only is Barry a legendary wrestler, but he's an American hero, teaching foreigners the history of the United States. True leader right there. Next up, we have PG-13 facing off against the new tag team champions, Smoking Guns. And we get a quick announcement from Gorilla Monsoon because Undertaker has been injured. He is putting Yokozuna in the ring against Mabel to take his spot at the pay per view. Since his opponent went down, hey, might as well just cancel the match. Just let Mabel take the day off. I didn't notice this on their debut, but PG-13 are smaller guys. Compared to Billy Gunn, they are children. I'm not hating on it, I just wanted to point it out because I didn't notice it. This match was also for the Tag Team Championships. Somehow, one win on Raw gets you a Tag Team title shot. The Smoking Guns did have a bit of trouble with these two, which I didn't really like, but it was still a quick match where the Smoking Guns dominated 85% of it, so not much damage done to the Guns, and PG-13 actually get a bit of a rub for keeping up with the champs in their second match on Raw. So we'll see if they continue to push them or if that was their 15 minutes of fame. And then this shows why Raw would struggle with Nitro being their competition. Right now, neither are really better than the other, but Raw is taped and Nitro is live, so that kind of hurts them. We get some footage from a different show where Bulldog gets interviewed. Him and Cornette talk about their WWF title match. Not much here to talk about, just a generic heel promo saying how they're better than Diesel, especially after Davey Boy pinned him in the match last week. Next up, we have Dean Douglas having his first match on Raw, and he was going to take on Shawn at the In Your House pay per view. But on commentary, Vince tells us about the guys who jumped Shawn in Syracuse and that they sent him to the hospital. HBK calls in during this match. He tells us that he'll be at our house. He'll tell us that he will be at In Your House. The way that the words go there, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, he tells us that he's going to be at In Your House and he will deliver one way or another, whatever that means. And to be honest, if they knew that he wasn't going to compete, this was really scummy on the part of the WWF, making fans think that Shawn was still potentially going to wrestle. I don't care how you feel about him. Shawn was putting on some good matches at the pay-per-views, and him being there to wrestle is a selling point. So, bad on them for tricking people to think that Shawn was going to be wrestling. Again, that's if they already knew that Shawn couldn't and wouldn't be wrestling at the show. If they didn't know, oh well. They did what they did. It doesn't really matter anymore. Anyways, Douglas picks up the win and now is also in contention for the Dominance Award, sitting at a nice 1-0. And also, what I didn't mention is that PG-13 now with that loss are out of the running. We got some word from Goldust, who is making his debut at In Your House, and earlier we also got our first glimpse at Ahmed Johnson. He cut a short promo about his mom who worked a minimum wage job to support him, and that's why he's gonna give it his all because he owes it to her. So he's coming soon too. We've gotten a ton of debuts this year alone. Helmsley, Skip, Sonny, Savio Vega, Goldust, Waylon Mercy, Isaac Yankem, Dean Douglas. I think Henry Godwin also made his debut this year. It could have been like at the end of last year, but still. And we got now Ahmed Johnson coming too. What a year! And I think 1996 is going to be even better. Three names come to mind. Alright, so next up is the steel cage match. The only way to win is to escape the cage. I think this is the first cage match on Raw 2. So they both tried to escape a couple times when Bret asked the ref to unlock the door, which, if they are allowed to go through the door, why is it locked in the first place? But the ref couldn't get the door unlocked because we see Jerry Lawler pull out a lock on commentary to show that he switched the locks. You might be saying, what would have happened if Yankem tried to go through the door? Well, no, because he's in cahoots with Lawler, so he already knew not to go to the door. Bret in control hits a clothesline from the middle rope and then locks Isaac in the sharpshooter. He tries to escape, but Lawler stops him and knocks him back into the ring. But because Jerry interfered, Monsoon comes out and puts him in the shark cage. Because if you remember, Jerry was told not to interfere or this was going to happen. And then not only do they put him in the cage, they lift the cage off the ground too. Lawler gets a nosebleed from being up too high. The match really stopped being about what was going on in the ring because they kept cutting to Lawler in the cage. After Yankem sends Bret into the turnbuckle, he asks for Lawler to throw him the key to unlock the door. Bret stops him, hits him with the bulldog, then a backbreaker and elbow drop from his rope, and that's enough to keep the big man down long enough for Bret to escape the cage. And hopefully this is the last we have to deal with this feud. And Bret now switches his focus to the WWF title match at Survivor Series. The King is left hanging in the cage after the match, and as the show goes off the air. Some say his spirit is still haunting that arena to this day. So that does it for Raw. In Your House is happening before the next Raw, so I'll give you guys my opinions on the pay-per-view on the next review. This episode, however, will get a good grade. Besides the fact that it's two big names, they haven't really done much of a storyline for Bulldog and Diesel. Well, actually, Bulldog turned heel by attacking Diesel, so that's something. But besides that, I can't really think of what else I care for at the pay-per-view. Bret isn't wrestling, and even though he was promoted to, Shawn isn't wrestling either, so those are two guys who usually deliver on pay-per-views, but they will not be on the card, or at least in a wrestling match. And the main event is between two big guys, which usually means the match will be super slow. But hey, usually when I have low hopes, I get a surprisingly good card. But yeah, this show really didn't do much to lead into the pay-per-view, so with that being said, I am out.